StoryCorps CT features interviews gathered by the StoryCorps Mobile Tour in Connecticut. Tina, who grew up in Nicaragua, spoke with Ruby, whose family is from Mexico. Both now live in New Haven.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned your pueblo's in Oaxaca, right?
Yeah.
And you've never been, so how do you stay connected to like your culture? Did you get that a lot from your family, or do you do your own research and like learn about it? I want to know how you stay connected.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so a little background. I was not in love with my culture growing up. I was really opposed, really rejected it. I wanted to be white, and I had a lot of self-hate going on. As I got older and as I realized that I was sort of allowed to feel what I feel, I decided to discover more of who I was and who I wanted to be, because up until that point, I've always been told. So it kind of started there. And I think my first thing that I did was connect more with my family, specifically my grandpa, who like travels back and forth from LA to Oaxaca. And I started to talk to him. I have only met him a handful of times in my life, but over the phone, I could have a conversation with him for hours and he wouldn't get tired, because he's equally as like interested and energetic and can just keep going.
That's the best.
So it kind of went from there. Yeah. How about you?
Well, it's kind of different because I grew up my whole life in Nicaragua, but because my parents had basically grown up in the States, I lived I grew up with some American culture, if you could call it that, in my house. And when I was little, it was the same. I wanted to be American. I only wanted to watch movies and TV in English. Only wanted to listen to music that was in English.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to leave this country. I can't wait till I go to college. I don't want to come back. This is terrible. Blah, blah, blah. And then when I left, I realized how much I actually loved my culture and loved my country.
Where do you want to go? Where do you want to set your roots down, or where do you want to experiment,
I've been thinking about this a lot because, graduation's 2 years away, but I think ideally I would love to go back home. I think that is where I want to settle down. But I don't know if I'm going to find a job that I love there, because there aren't as many opportunities. But at the same time, I'm like, well, what's more important? To be happy to be with my family, or to have this job in a big city. Yeah. So I don't know. But I think ideally I would go back to Nicaragua.
Yeah. And I get it, it's hard. It is so difficult. But I think the really interesting thing is not even I don't want to say we have so much time, but I guess what I hear is that this is the time to experiment and find out, maybe I won't stay in New Haven forever, but right now, this is what's granted me the opportunity to experiment and feel safe enough to grow.
Now that you said that it feels like you can grow here, I agree. I think New Haven feels like a good place to grow. I feel very safe here. I feel very supportive.
And I'm glad you do.
Tina and Ruby in New Haven, Connecticut. Produced locally by Connecticut Public Radio. See and hear more stories at ctpublic.org/StoryCorps-CT.
The StoryCorps Mobile Tour is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. StoryCorps CT is supported locally by Connecticut Humanities with funding from Connecticut's Department of Economic and Community Development, the Office of the Arts, and the state legislature.